Most people think that leadership is all about control, but the best Navy chiefs, they don't control, they transform. Let me show you how. How's it going, Breakers? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I drop content every single week to help you level up. I cover content from leadership to team development and everything in between. In this video, I'm going to talk about transformational leadership. This video is for military leaders, civilian leaders. If you're just starting out, if you've been leading for a long time, this video is designed to help all of you get better. And if you find value, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like button, trying to grow my audience and share the wealth. So let's grow together, Breakers. In this video, I'm going to give you some real world examples that I've used over the last 20 years to transform organizations. I'm going to give you some practical leadership tactics that you can put to work on the deck plate immediately. This is a no fluff approach, and it's just tested and proven transformational content to help you. So why am I making this video now? In today's day and age, we've got a culture of burnout and low engagement with our teams. It's harder than ever to get those involved on your team, to get them to buy into you as a leader, to help you go to the next level and change culture in your organizations. People don't need bosses. They need leaders that are ready and willing to engage with them and transform them to where they need to go. First up, let's talk about what is transformational leadership and what exactly that means. Transformational leadership is broken into 4 different categories that I'm going to break down right now. The first is Idealized Influence, then Inspirational Motivation, followed by Intellectual Stimulation. Lastly is Individualized Considerations. So let's talk about Idealized Influence. This is all about walking the walk and talking the talk as a leader. You set a standard that you enforce and that you model that behavior yourself. This is key to leadership. If you don't walk the walk, you're going to lose trust and you're going to lose it fast. You're going to be seen as a hypocrite and not taken seriously by those that you're trying to lead. It's a huge barrier if you don't get this right. Chiefs, we don't say that we're going to be on time. We model that behavior and we show up early and we're there before anyone else shows up. This integrity to our action and what we say is going to build influence super quick with your team. Next up is Inspirational Motivation. This is about having a clear, long-term vision that your sailors or the people that you're leading can get behind and something they can believe in. What's the why? If you're just talking about completing the tasks and you're trying to have transformational leadership, tasking doesn't drive change in an organization. Talking about the why is super critical. This is how you can keep your team engaged while deployed in the middle of the ocean, talking to them about how their piece is part of a greater whole and why the ship or the strike group or whatever we're doing is out there on its mission. If you just talk about those individualized tasks and that's all you're trying to use to motivate your sailors or the people you're leading, those taskings, that's not going to go very far. They need to be inspired. One of the easiest and most powerful whys that I could come up with that was easy and works in any organization is, as a leader, I always told my sailors that I wanted to be so squared away because I didn't want anyone to mess with us. If we wanted to leave early, nobody asked questions. If we wanted to do a divisional outing, nobody asked questions because we were the most squared away division on the ship, the best of the best, and that allowed us to have a lot of wiggle room in navigation in what we could do as a division. So think about your why. How are you going to get your team to buy into you and your vision as a leader? Next up is Intellectual Stimulation. This is all about not solving the problems and allowing your junior sailors to problem solve complex issues. This could be system issues, tactics, or their overall direction and planning for the organization. As a leader, I treat my youngest sailors as mini project managers. Instead of teaching them and telling them exactly how to accomplish the task, I challenge them to come up with a plan, what resources they need, how many hours they need, How many sailors do they need to get that job done? I could just go down there and tell them what to do, but instead I challenge them. I also challenge every new person in my organization to be part of making us better. We all bring something to the fight, whether we've been there for 5 minutes or 20 years. We might see the insight that's going to take our organization to the next level. And I challenge my newest sailors on day one to keep an eye out and challenge the status quo to see how we can do better. I challenge them to say, hey, why don't we try it like this? Or what if we did this different? I invite and encourage every member of my team to answer those questions and look for opportunities to make us the best. And that's how you build real transformational leadership. Lastly is individualized consideration. This is about knowing your team and how to challenge them to be better. What do they need to grow and level up to reach that next milestone in their career or their personal development? Me and my Divo used to have these chessboard meetings, we'd call them, about how we could maneuver our people around and put them in challenging environments. Anytime we talked about tasking, we would be thinking, who should we assign to this task? And instead of always giving it to the one that we knew would be successful, we gave it to somebody who would grow from that opportunity, not just the easy way out. If you always go for the easy way out, you're going to overload your best sailors. You're going to always go to them when you need tasking. When you have the luxury of time, give it to the people who need to grow. That way, when we go to war or we go to that next environment, and we don't have the luxury of time, we have a capable team. I spend a lot of time looking for micro leadership moments. Anywhere in my organization, if I'm walking around and I find myself in a place where I can spend even just a couple minutes with a junior sailor to teach them something new or get an insight and learn from them, I take it. I look for those opportunities to coach, mentor, and train my team to be better. And that means that I, as a leader, I have to step back. And that's hard for a lot of leaders. I find that myself, that even now, as a Command Master Chief, I want to step in, tell people how I want it done. But guess what? I got to give them the opportunity to make mistakes, learn from what works well. I give that room and navigation to as many sailors as possible to help them grow. The best chiefs on the planet, we don't create copies of ourselves. We create leaders who are better equipped than we were. Next up, let's talk about the chief blueprint. Chiefs, we're culture carriers. We're the ones who drive change in an organization. Almost every division on the planet has chief petty officer attached to them. They're the frontline leadership, that daily interaction with good order and discipline and shaping our sailors on the deck plate level. We're the ones who can change culture. That's the power of the Chiefs Mess. When we all drive in the same direction with culture, we can make changes quick, fast, and efficient. We take the CEO's intent and then we transform that into daily habits and intention with the sailors. I remember when I checked into my first division as a young chief and I got there and my Command Master Chief and my DLCPO told me, "Congrats, you just inherited one of the worst divisions on the ship." I had gun decking, people sleeping in spaces. I had to change the culture quick because the guy before me didn't set a standard and good order and discipline was gone. I had to transform that culture and get that team to buy into my plan, and it wasn't easy. I set up and established my standards from day one. The gun decking would not be tolerated. We started doing quarters, we did it in formation, and I built those standards back in there day one. And I was uncompromising in those standards. It was a culture shock for the sailors, but I did it quickly and established change. Because if I started allowing my standards to slip, it was going to be a slippery slope trying to climb back up that standard wall. I like to start high in my standards, and then as the team starts to conform and I move that culture in the direction I want, then I can kind of taper it back and find the balance of where me and my team can come together on the culture point. I remember sitting down with those sailors when I first got there, and I took my anchors off and I said, "Look guys, let's have a real conversation. I want to know what's messed up and how we can be better together." It was crickets. My sailors didn't say anything. They had nothing to say to me in that first initial conversation. I continued over the next couple weeks, took notes, started taking care of them, started to get after things, and started to leave earlier than what we were before. And I could start to follow through on the promises that I said would come if they followed me as a leader, and they slowly started to buy in. Fast forward about 6 months, I had the same conversation. Hey, where are we at? How are we doing? How can we be the best? I wanted to be the best because I didn't want anyone to mess with us. They had a lot to say because then they had bought into me as a leader. I even asked them, I said, what's up, guys? You guys said nothing last time, and now all of a sudden, you got all these ideas? A couple of them were like, Chief, we thought you were a spy. We thought you were sent in here by NCIS to find out what's going on, like some sort of weird undercover boss thing. So it took them time to open up to me and trust me as a leader. But as soon as I got that trust, we made real progress on the culture piece. And for any new leaders out there, I would say that it's going to take you at least a year to build that culture that you want. A minimum. Every organization that I've ever been in where I've seen a leader move into a new division, a new department, or a new command and start moving that needle, it takes at least a year before you see real progress that you can, start to dial back, like I said. Dig in, trust yourself, and believe that you have a long-term vision that's worth following, and just keep grinding. If you quit, then you'll never get to the culture you want. But if you continue, you'll get the culture that you need, and it will make your life as a leader so much easier. The key here is change didn't start with 1 or 2 meetings or me changing quarters. It started with me and my behavior and modeling the standards that I wanted every single day. Next up, let's talk about empowerment and not micromanagement. I ask new leaders all the time, does micromanagement have a place in leadership? And my answer is yes. Sometimes you got to get in there, micromanage your process, because maybe it's time critical and you got to get it done quick and you don't have time for your team to learn and adapt and figure it out themselves. So you got to get in, micromanage, get the mission executed, and get out. When you were in boot camp, I would argue you were micromanaged. And guess what? During that process, you needed it. A new sailor who checks into my command, probably going to be micromanaged for a couple weeks until they start to understand how our normal flow is. And then they move away from the micromanagement. Chiefs and leaders fall into this trap all the time where they think, it's faster. I'll just do it myself. I don't have time for them to figure it out. But that's a trap. You have to empower your people. If you don't give them the time to do it and you micromanage and you don't let them grow, this is going to breed distrust with your teams. They're going to feel that you don't trust them, and it's going to breed dependence. If you go on leave and the entire division falls into shambles, then you're probably micromanaging too much or too involved in the daily process. Your team needs to be able to survive without you. If they can't, then you need to train. You're not just building output and getting things done. You need to build ownership. Looking for these opportunities is absolutely critical. You have to find when you have time. If the system breaks and the ship is getting underway tomorrow, that's not the time to give your team what they need to figure it out and just sit there and watch them struggle. You need to get in there, teach them on the fly, and get that equipment up fast so the ship can get underway. I did this in dry dock, and I would take apart my entire heat exchanger, and I gave my team months to get this done. And I went down there and I coached them and helped them a little bit along the way, but I gave them a tech pub and I said, let's figure it out. How long is it going to take you? And it took them 2.5, 3 months. I could have had that job done with my first classes in probably a week, maybe 2 weeks, but guess what? I used that rare opportunity of dry dock where we're not against the shot clock to build depth in my team's experience. Now, when the system broke after we got out of dry dock, they were experienced with taking it apart and putting it back together. So I could focus on other things. They could go attack it, and they got it done extremely quickly. Build the depth when time allows. It's absolutely critical. Here's some empowerment tactics. Clearly define the overall goals and the end state. What are you looking for? Have a conversation and train them on what right looks like. That one, when they start that project or whatever you're asking them to do, they know what the finish line should look like. Have those conversations and flesh out all the details when it comes from time, due date, how many resources they would need, all those things. So you and that leader are on the same page as leaders together. Provide feedback loops. Don't do constant check-ins. Tell them to come get you at key checkpoints, maybe where you're concerned or before vital system tests, to make sure that everything is going well and moving in the direction you want. If you're constantly going down there and randomly checking in, you're going to come down into different points where you're not prepared to understand what the standard is and where the project should be. So align those visions together. You also don't want to be a helicopter leader who's always hovering around where they feel like they're always being watched and constantly micromanaged. Give them the room to breathe, give them the room to figure it out, and come in at key checkpoints. Lastly, be prepared for them to mess it up. They're learning, they're gonna make mistakes. It's only natural. Celebrate that they're taking ownership of that project, vice beating them up over the outcome. This isn't about allowing them to get away with substandard performance or outcomes, but if it isn't at 100% perfect, don't lose your mind. Just offer small course correction, but go down there, pat them on the back and say, hey, you're doing good. I like what you guys did here. I like how you did this. But what about this over here? Did you consider this fact? Did you think about how we're going to put this area back together? Use it as teaching points. Don't go down there and beat them up. Let's talk about driving innovation through trust. This mentality kills teams. We've always done it this way. That is the stupidest reason to ever keep doing something when somebody comes up with an innovation or a way to be more efficient. We should be doing things based off the procedure or the actual documentation. If we're just doing it because we've always done it this way, there's a good chance that we're messing it up and not doing it right. So listen to your teams when they bring that up, and don't just simply say and be dismissive and say, we're not going to change because we've always done it this way. The military and the Navy is a bureaucratic ticker tape sometimes. We're not really always known for our agility to change. But chiefs on the deck plate, we can have small grassroots innovations and drive change very quickly in our organizations and our divisions. You don't need permission from anyone higher than you to make change that's going to make your team better, but you do need their trust. Plenty of times I've had some of my youngest third classes or seamen come to me and say, Chief, we could do this differently. This is how I want to attack that situation. And even though it may not be what I think is the best approach, I allow them the room to go out there and try their solution. And guess what? Sometimes that solution that I didn't think was the best ended up being really freaking good and changed a lot of things and made our team more efficient. And sometimes they learned lessons about why that way wasn't the best way, and it helped them grow as a leader and helped us grow as a team. Don't be dismissive to your team. Even your youngest sailors can bring you the best opportunities for growth. I love hearing these new ideas, and I try to inspire them to go out there and try them. True innovation requires a lot from your team, from you as a leader. They have to trust that if they fail, they won't be eaten alive. So they need that safety to fail, and you have to provide that. I did another video here about how it's our responsibility as a leader to eat the risk. When things go well, the credit goes to the team, and when things go bad, it's our fault. That video will help you make sure that your team has the safety they need to be their best. You should watch it. Next up, they need the comfort and space and trust in you as a leader that they'll speak up when they see something that needs to be fixed or they see a better way. If you're constantly dismissing them or biting their head off when they bring ideas to you, they're going to stop. And you need those ideas and you need their feedback as a team, because no matter how good you think you are, you're never going to have the best solution 100% of the time. The power in our success is using our teams. Remember, as a leader, you don't need to be the smartest one in the room. You just have to be the one that uses your team in the most tactically efficient way, using everyone's strengths and weaknesses to play off each other to make one powerhouse team. And that takes all hands on deck. What happens when your team feels safe enough to challenge you? You get the best ideas and the best feedback you're ever going to get. Remember, breakers, transformational leadership isn't built, it's earned with your team. If your team doesn't buy into you and they don't trust you, you're not going to transform squat. Chiefs lead with influence, vision, and relentless drive to take care of their people and meet the mission. These ideas and these leadership tactics aren't exclusive to the Navy. They work in any organization where you are dealing with people and influence. And that's every leader's responsibility. Your job as a leader isn't to get the most out of your team. It's to unlock the most potential and growth. If this video resonated with you and you're a breaker, I challenge you, join a team of breakers. Let's build a team of breakers together. We can be the most powerful leadership movement on the internet. Like this video if it helped you, send it to somebody who needs to hear it, and subscribe to my channel so you never miss an opportunity to grow. Thanks for watching, Shipmate.